Good evening and welcome to the Job Fair Prep Spring 2021. My name is Kendra Lewis. I'm the Career Engagement Employer Relations Specialist here at the Magna Career Center, and I am presenting this evening with my colleagues Paula Cohen and Vanessa Samboy. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Right now we have what is coming up next, some events that we have that we want to share with you this evening in addition to the upcoming job fair. So if you take a quick look at the calendar, we have a ton of events. We're working really hard to make sure everyone is prepared and that there are tons of employers for you guys to meet next Friday. So as you see, after today, Aon is going to be presenting, that is tomorrow, stellar tips to engage virtually with employers. So if you are available, make sure to register. You're able to see all full details at tinyurl.com/MCC virtual services. And you're also able to register for any events that you're interested in at the Web Central portal, just how you might have registered for today's event. You're able to do that similarly there. The job fair will be March 26th from 11 to 3. It will be in a virtual format, so rest assured you don't have to come in person, which is always good, right? But that means that there are other elements that we have to consider since it is virtual and it is not in person. You want to register for this event at portal.brooklyn.cuny.edu. And you also want to get a list of the attending companies. Again, you could take a screenshot or a photo, tinyurl.com/Brooklyn College Career Fair. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Paula.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We're talking this evening, of course, about the virtual career fair that's coming up next Friday. And career fairs have goals, okay? All fairs have the same goal. Job fairs focus on recruiting talent, which means you, and filling open roles, which means for them. For Brooklyn College's virtual fair, most employers are interested in meeting either one-on-one or for 8-minute chats with students. A few are hosting information sessions, and I should say meeting one-on-one for either 8-minute chats with students or hosting information sessions. We'll get to that later. So virtual fairs can take place in various forms. There are one-on-one virtual booths. There are also mini info sessions which are group-based, and you still have to prepare regardless of which one you enter.
So yes, as Paula said, it'll be in a virtual format. So you guys will either be meeting one-on-one or in a group-based setting. But regardless of whether you meet one-on-one or in that group-based setting, you still want to prepare it the same way regardless, right? So the first thing you want to do is do some research. When you talk to employers, you want to show them that you're informed and that you're really interested in being a part of their team or being a part of their internship program, being a part of their organization. So you really want to take the time to do the research, who the employer is, what is their mission. You can look at their mission statement, their about page, or even their value statement. What positions do they have open? Are they looking for full-time or part-time positions? Are they looking for interns? And also, what does that timeline look like? Because you may or may not be, once you're ready to apply, it may not be the time when they're looking for somebody. So you want to know when that is so that you could be ahead of the game. It'll also be great to find out what current projects are they working on. And the reason for this is because you want to be able to have engaging conversation with the employer. Show them that you're really invested and interested in being there. So if you're wondering, well, how do you do research on a company or an organization? Well, definitely you want to check out their website. But in addition, there are other resources such as glassdoor.com, LinkedIn, and even Volt. We really encourage you to use these resources because they're free, but they also have abundance and rich information. So for example, LinkedIn, if you look at other people's profile and you see that they're working in the organization that you're interested in, you could connect with them if they're an alumni preferably, or you could just connect with them through LinkedIn, right? That's what LinkedIn is for. But you could get information that you might not find just on the web, which is why we encourage you to do that. Glassdoor, if anyone hasn't already looked at Glassdoor, you'll be able to see maybe some sample interview questions. You'll be able to get some feedback that's unbiased.
So, scheduling appointments for the virtual fair. First, you're going to receive an email notification from the Magner Center, which will let you know that booking slots are open for the fair. And you want to please double check to make sure that your email is correct. Your Brooklyn College email, Higher BC email is correct, because this is how you're going to get the notification. If it's not correct, you're not going to get the notification. So since we want to see you there, please check. The job fair site is going to list employers and the positions they're recruiting for. And the site will continually be updated in real time so that if a job is filled, if other jobs are added, it will continually be refreshed and you will get the most up-to-date information. On the site, you'll be able to book appointments with employers of your choice. Since there are a limited number of slots available, you want to sign up as soon as possible once you receive the email, because they're going to fill up pretty quickly, we believe. So write down the appointments you booked so you don't double book yourself. Make sure that everything is nice and organized. After you complete the booking, you'll receive a confirmation email with the link to use on the day of the fair. And recruiters are going to be using different platforms. They're going to be using Zoom, they're going to be using Google Meet, they're going to be using Microsoft Teams and WebEx. We recommend using the web version of all platforms because you'll have less trouble going from one to the other.
By when do you think we should look out for the email?
Expect it sometime this weekend or this coming Monday.
So this is the Google site for the job fair. As noted, the slides that we're presenting and we're going over today, you will be able to access here. Here you will also access the rest of our events that will continue to help you prepare for the job fair. Thank you to Aon, who is sponsoring the fair. So some of the preparation, right? Introduction, overview. We wanted to look at the list of employers attending. So this is important for you when you are doing your research, right? So we talked about doing research and preparation of interacting with the employers. Here you will find the list, and we have it in alphabetical order. So in each section, you'll find the website, which is what we are suggesting for you to use to do some of your research. Looking at the positions that they are hiring for, what their expectations are. So they have the class levels, what's majors. So as you can see, there's a lot of details that you'll be able to see already on this site that'll help you prepare for March 26th. So we don't have to go through each one. If we have time at the end, we could look through more of the employers. But again, this is something that you have access to as well through the site.
On the day of the fair, there are a couple of things you will want to do. Number one, you want to paste the individual employer's link into your browser at the time of your meeting. Okay? They will be notified that you want to join their session, and they will either have you join one-on-one or in small groups. As we said earlier, it is their decision, their preference. Either way, you will get a chance to see them, speak to them, talk to them about their companies, find out about the jobs that they have open. Please dress professionally. Also, please leave your camera on if it's humanly possible. And since you're all human, I expect that it will be humanly possible. People who are planning to hire you or are thinking of hiring you want to know what you look like. Just because people are accustomed to identifying other people by their faces. So think of how much trouble everybody has identifying friends on the street. Is that who I think it is because they're wearing a mask? Please show your picture, show your face. Be mindful of your background. If you're in your room, make sure your bed is made. If you are in other rooms, make sure it's really neat, or use a virtual background. Virtual also great if you are going to be in a where there might be traffic, foot traffic behind you, your family, members of your family walking behind you. A virtual background is very helpful for that because it screens most people out beyond a certain distance. So what you're going to want to do is use a virtual background if possible, if you need to, certainly. There will be a Magner Center front desk setup. So if you have questions or need help during the fair, you will be able to go to the Magner Center front desk setup, and you will be informed of that too. If you have any questions or need help during the fair, you can always go to that and have your problem solved.
In addition to preparing, right, you want to also prepare it yourself because first impressions really make a huge difference, right? It can make or break how the relationship will go. Even though sometimes the first impression isn't who you are, right? Maybe you're nervous, maybe it's not your best day. So what we want to do is put our best foot forward by preparing. As we noted, we want to make sure to dress professionally because even if you're not in person, that still gives an impression, right? How serious are you taking it? And then think about your competition. If someone else is coming in with a suit and you are more casual, who is giving a better impression? Don't forget that it is still competitive and that there's only a certain amount of slots that could be filled, right? So you still want to keep that in mind. Making a great first impression by becoming prepared professionally is a great way to do that. Additionally, you want to give your undivided attention because it could be distracting if you're doing something else. Just a funny story, in the past we've seen people doing all types of things right in the middle of the job fair. They might be reading a book, they might be doing something else, right? So that also doesn't give a good impression. It might seem like you're not interested or you're not engaged, and you don't want to give that impression to an employer who you want to potentially work for. So make sure that you give your undivided attention. You also want to make sure that you're clearly communicating. So whether that's via text or if you have the option to do so over the phone, if you get to speak out loud, you want to make sure that you're clearly communicating. Last tip about making great first impression, being prepared: have your resume readily accessible, so having it saved to the computer so that when you are asked for that resume, you're able to easily pull it up and that it's the correct one. You don't want to send off the wrong resume. And remember to have a smile, right? Just because you're not in person doesn't mean that people don't still want to get your personality and feel warm and welcomed when they're talking to you, because just as important as the skills and the qualifications that you have, your personality makes just as much as a great impression. So that means you don't have to be perfect, but if you come with a positive attitude, you smile and you give a good impression of yourself, it'll go a long way.
You want to stand out from other applicants, other people attending the fair. And you'll be able to do that most easily by introducing yourself and giving your what's known as your elevator pitch or your 30-second pitch. On an interview, somebody might say, "Tell me about yourself." They might say it here too. So when you are asked to introduce yourself, you want to start with your name, obviously, but you also want to start with your major if you have declared one. If not, you might want to say, "I'm exploring majors in this, or that." If you are in fact looking at various majors and one of them would suit the kind of company you are speaking to at that moment. You want to explain what kind of position you're looking for, if in fact you are looking for a specific position that has been posted by the company, and why you are looking for that position. It may have something to do with your major, it may not, but you can always talk about why you feel you would be an asset to the company in that position. Maybe it would be an internship that is somewhat related to the field you want to go into, or maybe it's something that simply would increase your communication skills, your ability to face customers. And as we all know, that is something that is relatable to just about any job anywhere. Okay, so explain why you would be an asset, give your work-related strengths, talk about your academic experience, talk about how to connect to the company, meaning that this is what you could do to contribute to their success. You also want to ask the recruiter questions, if you have them, at least one, about their company or about their program based on the research you did about the company, because again, it will show you know about them. You're interested in them. You're not just showing up and you have no idea what they do or who they are. They want to know that you know about them just the way they want to know about you. And please remember, the thing that's most important is your level of enthusiasm and presentation. Your elevator pitch, your 30-second pitch, does not have to be perfect, nor does it need to be only 30 seconds. If it goes a little longer, it goes a little longer. As long as you're not going on and on for minutes at a time, something short and sweet and to the point. How about something like, hello, my name is Jonathan Husky. I'm a junior at Brooklyn College working towards a degree in accounting. I'm hoping to become a certified public accountant, and I saw that you have internships for people who are on accounting, certified public accounting tracks, and I would be thrilled to work for your company as an intern and help you while you're helping me by allowing me to increase my skills on an internship. That's it. Can't tell you whether that was 30 seconds, but it's short enough to satisfy anybody, and I think it's something that you can do as well. And by the way, since we've got a sample pitch at the bottom of the screen, and I kind of use that to go along with it, would you want to, by any stretch of the imagination, anybody give your pitch? Love to hear one of your pitches. May as well practice now, because at least it's practice. This is not the real thing. So since you're going to have to do this a week from this coming Friday, how about trying it here?
Yeah, anybody interested? We just have a quick guide here. If you didn't recall, name and major, your career interest, your work-related strengths.
And again, there's another sample here already. My name is Cliff Frontera, and I'm majoring in television and radio. I've had a couple of years of retail experience where I developed excellent customer service skills. I know those skills are transferable to any industry. I'm really eager to gain experience in radio. It's frankly my passion. And I'm currently working for the radio station on the Brooklyn College campus as well. I'd be thrilled to apply for your internship opportunity and hopefully work for you. That would be like a dream come true.
Hi, my name is Cameron Cannon, and I majored in cultural communication. I've had a lot of internships at college and through my experience, I've realized that I am best suited to one-on-one communication. So I was thinking of the website. The app is very last course I'm very excited to
We lost you a little bit with the audio, but you did very well. From what I did hear, I heard your name very clearly. You pronounced, I loved your body language, because even though I did lose your audio a little bit, I was still able to feel your energy, feel excited, and the confidence was there. So I think overall you did great. And we were able, for anyone that, Paula, did you want to add anything?
No, just that your eye contact was also wonderful. And of course, your smile, as usual,
Yes.
terrific. Okay, so that is what an elevator pitch or a 30-second pitch should look and sound like. Okay, hopefully you won't have a glitch with the speaker, but I tell you honestly that if that were to happen, the interviewer would stop you and say, "Oops, Cameron, you're fading out. Try it again, or maybe move a little bit closer to the microphone." Okay, because they would not want to just sit there and listen to something that they couldn't hear clearly. So they will tell you if that's a problem.
Right.
We didn't want to freak you out and say that.
Right. Exactly. Thanks, Paula, for making that note. Right. It would have been distracting, and we are already very thankful for you volunteering. Thank you so much for that, because it's nerve-wracking, right? But I think it's good to practice, especially in this setting, because this is a judgment-free zone, right? We're here to help each other and support one another. So thank you so much, Cameron, for volunteering. And if anybody else wants to, this would be a great time to practice, because it is nerve-wracking, and it is, even though we like to believe we're very knowledgeable of who we are, right? We always tend to get a little nervous when it's time to talk about ourselves, right? Some people love talking about themselves, but some of us, we are more shy or more reserved. And it's important, because we all have goals and ambitions and want to land that dream job or land that dream internship and gain that experience and work for that organization. But the only way you could get there is if you advocate for yourself, you speak up for yourself, you market yourself. So it's really imperative for you to get that practice and get comfortable with it, because it's going to be needed, a part of the journey. Even if, people always say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. In order for you to get to know people and for people to know you, you have to be able to talk about yourself, to share your accomplishments. And that's really what the elevator pitch is about, being able to capture someone's attention in those quick 30 seconds so that they have a reason to continue to talk to you and talk to you at a later date, and to really build a relationship over time, because it happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight, right?
Before we move on to the next slide, let me just mention one thing. If you think you're going to go bleh when you're giving your 30-second pitch, just have a sheet of paper sitting in front of you, maybe, kind of like tilted up against the bottom of your screen or something like that, with just bullet points saying, first point, name, second point is major and career interest, third point, work-related strengths, so that you can just glance at them. You're not memorizing anything. You're not reading anything. You're just refreshing your memory so that you don't go ibbity, ibbity, ibbity in the middle of the 30-second pitch and really get yourself nervous. Have just a little crib sheet in front of you with the words that you need, down the page in bullet points to tell you what you're going to say next. Keep it to 30 seconds. After your introduction or pitch, if they say, "Love to look at your resume, please send it to us," upload it if they ask you to do it. But before you even do that, thank them for their time, thank them for their consideration. Just say, "Oh, thank you very much. I'm so excited that you want to see my resume. I'll be sending it out in another few minutes." And when you finally go off the meeting, okay, please jot down your notes about the conversation you had with this recruiter. What did they ask you? What did you tell them? What did they say about next steps? How soon did they say they might be looking at your resume? When do they expect to get back to people? Anything they mentioned that you feel is important and has to do with how to make sure you don't lose contact with them, write it down. Don't forget to follow any steps they suggested. They may say, please call back in a week's time after you sent the resume, because by then we should have had a chance to see everybody's resumes and decided on who we want to go forward with. Okay, so they're asking you to get back to them. Maybe some of them will say, you don't have to call us, we will get back to you if we're interested. And lastly, remember to send a thank you email to the employer. It's crucial. It should be short, sweet, and to the point. Just say, dear Mr. Smith, thank you so much for agreeing to see my resume. I was thrilled to talk to you, thrilled to find out more about your company, and now I really know that your internship is the one that I would like to get. I particularly appreciate mention something that they said that attracted you particularly. You want them to remember you for the wonderful conversation they had with you. So by all means, mention something that the two of you spoke about that they may remember you saying, okay? And incorporate any important points that you discussed at the career fair. And that is another thing that you want to make sure. It's while you were at the career fair that you're talking to them. So tell them what you found most helpful about speaking with them. Thank you letters, 1 page. Okay. Please, by the way, ask for the recruiter's email, because you cannot ask for their business card. They can't send it to you through the screen. So ask for their email. Again, that's why you're going to have a pad and a pencil or a pen in front of you so that you could write these things down.
So I have a question. So after your pitch, do you have to send a thank you letter email?
No, not after your pitch, after the fair, Destiny. Oh. Okay? Because you want to thank them for having met with you. Even if they don't ask for your resume, nevertheless, it's always advisable to send a thank you letter. Mention again what you spoke about with them and say, and actually it'll be in the form of an email rather than a letter. But mention what you spoke to them about, what you enjoyed most about the company, hearing about the company, about what they do, what you feel, again, you could do for them. Because if they didn't ask for your resume, they might after they get your thank you letter. Okay? So don't ever forget that thank you letter. They're important.
As we already noted, right, you want to make sure that you have that resume ready and accessible, saved to your computer for the job fair. And your resume is your marketing tool, right? So what you're doing is you're marketing yourself to employers. You are your own salesperson. You're also the product that you're selling, right? And when you have your resume, you want to make sure, yes, thanks, Paula. Paula's giving me the thumbs up, because this is very critical, right? We don't some people, I'll be honest with you, it makes people uncomfortable to think of themselves as a salesperson and stuff like that. But we're all in sales, whether we like it or not. When we're talking about ourselves, advertising our skills, our abilities, and things of such, including on the resume, right? It is still our marketing tool. So we want to make sure that it gives, again, we're going to continue making that great first impression, not just through the interaction, but also on your document. You want to make sure that it's flawless. You want to customize it as much as possible. So although you might not be able to customize it to a specific role, since you're using that one resume from multiple different organizations, you might be applying for similar roles, right? So making sure that the language that you're using is there, the qualifications are highlighted, and of course the skills. If there are things that you've already done in the role that you would be expected to do, you want to highlight those things to show the employer that you're ready for that specific role that you're applying to. You also do want your resume to be eye-catching. That doesn't mean to use bright colors and big bold letters all across the resume, because that could be an eyesore, right? We want it to be eye-catching. So we want it to be clear, concise, and make sure that the content is not jumbled, too clustered, because we want to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing. When you look at a document that's messy, that's not organized, and that has typos, it's going to make you feel a little stressed out, right? And the last thing that we want to do is turn an employer away before they even really get to know us. Because what if that information on that paper is very exciting and important, but the way that it's been received is just not it, right? So we want to make sure that it's clear, concise, eye-catching, and also that it guides the interview. Meaning that if there's a particular role that you're applying for, the experience that you're listing, whether it's a project highlight, an internship, maybe some work that you're not doing that's paid, right? Don't forget, all of that counts as experience, and those are things that you want to put onto the resume that is going to guide the interview. Because sometimes I'll look at a resume and I'm not sure what type of role that the person is going for. Even if you don't quote unquote have experience in that particular area, there's still ways that could show that you're interested, whether it's through your extracurricular activities, through your studies, or even including a summary into the resume. And that could allow you to put in those interests, what your aspirations are, and highlight the skills that you have, the languages, computer skills, things like that.
Resume housekeeping. Probably the most important thing when you're putting your resume together. Now, yes, the content is crucial, but I'll tell you what else is crucial. Okay? The fact that people sometimes have resumes that are on 2 pages. There may be an occasional 2-page resume. Usually they're for people who have been working for 8, 10, 15 years. Okay? College students generally haven't worked enough to have a 2-page resume. Some people who have worked very little have these great big 2-page resumes because they skip huge spaces in between, and the name at the top of the page is 26 points, and the margins are 1.5 inches all around, so that there's so much jumbled into the middle that everything gets scrolled onto it. Don't do that, guys. Margins, 0.5 top and bottom, 0.7 left and right. Actually, I suggest 0.5 on top, 0.6 left, bottom, and right. Okay? As long as it's no smaller than 0.5 and no larger than 0.7, you should be okay. Font sizes should be between 10 and 12, no larger. The fonts that you should use should be, sorry, Calibri or Arial or Candera. Pick one font, use that for the entire resume. Okay? Your resume, by the way, needs to be lined up neatly. Your bullet points all need to be in order. Okay? Your margins need to be all in order. The font sizes will vary depending upon whether it's your name, which is the largest thing on the page. I suggest 16 all caps bold. The heading underneath is 12 all caps, actually 11 all caps bold, and the text itself is maybe 10.5 to 11. Perfect. Should fit on one page if the margins are what I suggested. What to include other than experience? Your education, of course. Your LinkedIn, your GPA. Education is the first section if you don't have a summary. Okay, but it's at the top of the page because you're still in school. Your GPA goes under the school. Okay, so it's BS Accounting, Brooklyn College, CUNY, and way on the right-hand side of the page, graduation expected May 2022. Underneath that bullet point, GPA 3.65. Okay, you might want to have Dean's List next to it. If you've made Dean's List, put in the semesters you've made Dean's List. Relevant coursework is also great if you have enough room. If you don't have enough room because you've had a couple of jobs and a couple of internships and it's filling up the page nicely, leave out the relevant coursework. Same thing with projects. They're optional, but either one can be left out. Summary is also optional. We can talk about that another time. Certifications and extracurricular activities are important, particularly if your certifications are job related. And please, please remove the phrase references available upon request, because references are always available upon request if you want to give them. Somebody asks you for a reference and you don't like the company, you don't like the questions you got, you weren't too impressed with the interview, whatever it happened to be, you don't have to give it. You could give, an excuse and say, well, you're still getting your references together. You don't have a list of them yet. When you've gotten them, you will certainly try to get them to the person. All you got to say. Okay. We have a resume guide that you can look at. It's the Magna Resume Guide. The link is on the bottom there, and I know that Vanessa sent that out to you on chat as well. So we can move on to the next slide.
You want to make sure to check the tenses, right? So sometimes maybe you're currently in a role, but there's a task that you used to do, right? So sometimes people will put that in the past tense and then what they're currently doing in the present. If in a section you're using present, you want to keep the same tense. If it's something that you've done in the past and you're currently in the role, you still keep it in present tense. For all roles that are in the past, then those would continue to be past tense. And in your bullets, you want to avoid the putting just what you're responsible for. Sometimes people often focus what they're responsible for. Instead, really focus on what you've accomplished, the things that you've taken initiative to do, the things that set you apart, things that you could quantify. If you had to do something, how many times you had to do it, how often you had to do it. All of those things will help you create that action statement. So if you look in this section here, the resume formula, right? An action verb, having a number. So we talked about quantifying how much, how often, being specific and concise, and saying what the outcome was if you're able to do so. So that really focuses on your results and the impact that you've made, really making you stand out opposed to just having the responsibilities listed. And if there's things like, if you're not sure what that looks like, don't forget that, your resume is a living document, right? That once you've done something, it'll change. So if you haven't done things specifically to maybe make improvements or take initiative, don't feel like you can't still do that in whichever role that you step into or whichever role that you're currently in, because that could change, right? Your resume can change. Also, we read it, the resume from the top to bottom. So look at it that way. Make sure that it's clear and checked for errors in that way also. And getting somebody else to look at it is very helpful, because when you're looking at the resume or anything that you're writing, right? Maybe even in your classes when you're writing something, once you write it, your mind will put things there that aren't necessarily there. It'll fill words in for you, because that's how our brain works. And that's why we really encourage someone else to have a look at it as well, because then those things that aren't there, they'll quickly pick up on, because they weren't the writing it. Lastly, you want to make sure that your resume really highlights again, going back to the resume guiding the interview, right? Making sure that it really highlights the things that you want to discuss, and also gives the reader an idea of what, who you are, what you're capable of doing, and what you hope to do in that next role. So what that means is, if you have some responsibilities or accomplishments that you've already made in previous roles through your experiences, doesn't mean you have to list everything. if you know that you don't want to do that anymore, maybe you shouldn't focus so much on it, even if you've done it a lot in your past. If you know you want to move on to a different role, don't highlight that so much on the resume. Don't put a bunch of bullets, describing things that you don't want to do. Maybe put it in one clear, concise bullet or two bullets instead of focusing so much on those things. Don't forget, the resume is going to guide the interview. So really highlight on those things that you really want to do in that next role.
Just one more point. To find mistakes also, print your resume off.
Definitely.
It comes out of a printer. Guaranteed the first darn thing that your eye will fall on is the mistake you swore wasn't there when you read it on the screen. I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me. I look at it on the, in the hard copy, and I say, how did I miss that? And I go back and I make the change. But it's a foolproof way, along with reading it from the bottom up. When you're reading it from the bottom up, you're reading it for the words and the spelling. You're not reading it because it makes sense, because it makes no sense when you're reading it backwards, but you are looking for mistakes. Okay. Excellent. By the way, I don't know if you'll notice at the very bottom here on this little note where it says read it from the bottom up, notice the last sentence? Like the idea that when you read a paper over a ton of times, you miss silly mistakes because your brain fills it in. Notice how they left out the period, and notice how they didn't capitalize the L for like.
Right.
Okay. So somebody didn't do his checking or her checking when they were putting that together. I just happened to notice it because I have an uncanny way of finding mistakes, but
right.
Slide.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for adding that in, Paula. So make sure you check for those mistakes in the resume. Make sure that you highlight those accomplishments and those impacts that you're making.
Let's work on a very quick exercise. Let's create resume bullet points together. Okay? And what I'd love somebody, maybe more than one person, to do is put together a sentence, or if you happen to have your resume in front of you now, put together, maybe you want to read that sentence. An example of a perfect bullet point is worked with small group of 5 students, ages 7 to 8, to improve phonemic awareness and fluency. Now, I would change that slightly because I'm not sure what that person meant by worked with. Okay, I would like a little bit more detail, but that's just me. But something like this is terrific because it talks about the number of students, it talks about how old the students were, and it talks about the reason for doing this job, this particular task. So would anybody like to help us out by giving us a sample of a bullet point?
Scheduled wrote published weekly post about working women. In parentheses, I put college students to drive website and social media accounts.
All right, excellent. How do you feel based off of the few steps that we have? What is missing from there?
A number.
Yes, excellent. Great job, Cameron. I think you hit everything else, the action verb, the specific, right, and the result. So let's just add that number in there. Maybe you could say how many articles you wrote, how often you wrote them.
I did. I wrote weekly.
Weekly.
But we don't.
I wrote weekly.
But what if that was 1 week you did it?
Maybe every week though.
But is that something that you? But if we could put a number to it, did you do once a week?
Yeah.
Once a week, and then how are you currently doing that?
I did it for 4 months. I posted things through Squarespace.
Okay, so maybe altogether 16 articles, 10.
Yeah.
So you could say up to 10, right? I mean, you don't have to, but this is just if you want to break it down into a number instead of just, saying the weekly, you could get, a little bit more details, and that's just how you could, it's just mathematics, how many weeks you were doing it, how often, just so that the reader could quickly, sum it up, because weekly, monthly, those are so general. You might have done it 1 month, right? Obviously, you did it couple of weeks, but that's just to take it a step further. But thank you, Cameron. That's an excellent example.
Does each bullet point have to be detailed oriented like that?
Great questions. So we do encourage them to be detail oriented that way, just so that it's more of an accomplishment opposed to maybe just putting what you're responsible for. So the idea is that you don't have to list out every single thing that you've done, but really focusing on the things that are going to leave the reader with a great impression and make an impact. Paula, you want to add to that?
Let me just add, Destiny, the idea is nobody cares what you did. Anybody who had the same job description as you would have been doing exactly the same thing. What they care about is what you accomplished. Okay? So if you can make it detailed so that people know what you were working on, how often you did it, how important it was, and what the result was. Okay? Let's say you're in marketing and you say increased foot traffic by 45% within 5 months of hire. Whoa. Okay? Somebody says, hey, she knows what she's doing. That's amazing. Yeah, you're in marketing. Everybody knows you're in marketing. You don't sit there and say, marketed or, was responsible for window displays. But if you can say that you increased foot traffic into that store by 48% or 45%, I don't remember what I said before, in 5 months, that makes a difference. Now somebody's sitting there going, I want to see this person. So the details are very, very important.
So I think what Paul is saying is that, if you don't include that information, your resume doesn't stand out the same way. So right. Obviously you don't have to. However, if you don't, it only is a disadvantage because it doesn't give the reader a great idea of what it is that you're doing so that they can make an informed decision. Because remember, they're looking at other resumes. They're not spending a lot of time on it. So if you're able to, really clearly communicate what you're capable of doing or what you've accomplished, it'll only increase your chances. So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
You guys did, but what if it's something like, for example, I'm reading off my resume and one of my bullet points is content creation for all socials. How can I, how can I make it more detailed oriented?
What was it again, Destiny? Sorry.
Content for all social medias. So I think,
yeah.
So let's say, for example, for all social medias, well, how many social media platforms are there, right? We assume what all means, but for all that might be 5, for some that might be 2. So just like, being specific and saying which social medias, right? Instead of saying all. Then additionally, if you're creating content, right? What is that content? Is it articles? Are they posts? How often are you doing that? So those are just detail. Those are simple details, right? That'll just paint out a picture, not just for the reader, but for you as well, of what you're really doing. Because sometimes we're doing so much that we don't even remember, right? Everything that we've accomplished. So just asking ourselves those questions can help. So, if you just say maybe how often you're creating the content, whether it's daily or if you're making how many articles that you're submitting or how many that you're posting.
How many clicks do your social media things get?
Oh, right. The how many hits, right?
Get them.
The viewers. Great point. Yeah, so you could then conclude, say you're creating all this social media content resulting in X amount of viewers, something like that. Great. Hopefully that gives you a little more clarification, Destiny?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Excellent question. And Crystal, you have a question as well? Thanks for your patience, Crystal.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So you guys said to stay away from using the word worked. I was thinking of saying something like worked alongside someone using Microsoft Word and not graph. I can't remember what the other one is called, to help efficiency. But
Okay, two things. Worked is a very
general
word. Okay. You might want to, I don't know if you're familiar with the fact that there is a thesaurus on Word. on Microsoft Word. Okay, you click Shift F7. You highlight a word that you want to get a synonym for, and you click Shift F7 and get a whole section appearing on the right-hand side of your screen that contains a lot of different synonyms, words that have the same meaning, but they're different words. Okay, so you could find another word that's more interesting and more exciting. Okay, it's like a lot of people say, manage, 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 manage. How many times are you going to use the word managed in one resume? Okay, so you want to try look for words that are a little bit more unusual. I mean, they're not weird words, but people don't want
Less
to
common.
or less, that's it, thank you, less common over and over again, because it's just better not to use something that's that ordinary. Okay, didn't say you couldn't use worked, but you might want to use something else.
Great question, Crystal. And Cameron, thank you for putting into the chat. She noted that when she was updating and improving her resume, instead of worked, she used collaborated. So that's a great word that you could switch out for worked with. And then also, Crystal mentioned that she worked alongside other people. Whenever I see that in a resume, I always switch it and put that last in the statement. So you said you used Excel and so on and so forth, graphs or whatever, to improve efficiency or keep things organized. So you can start off by saying that, focusing more on what you did and taking less focus on the fact that you did it alongside somebody. However, if the job description does encourage collaboration, obviously you do want to highlight that, but then you don't have to do that each time. You could switch it up, right? Maybe one bullet you start off by saying collaborated or worked with, and the next one you can say that you used Excel to organize and maintain the database alongside so on and so forth, so that you still show that you're working along somebody, but you take away the emphasis. So it could go either way, but just keep in mind what skills and qualifications that you should highlight so that you know which is the better approach for yourself. And I think just to go back to one of the questions that we had earlier about do we have to do this? It's a great question. And it's, resumes, like we said before, working documents, living documents, they change all the time. There's, people have their own personal preference. There could be more than one way to do it. It's a numbers game, right? And we want to increase your odds, and that's it. Anything that we encourage you to do or suggest is just a way to improve your chances and encourage a greater chance of getting accepted. So it's not that you have to do these things, but we really do want you to put your best foot forward. And through our experience and working with employers and over the years, these are some of the best practices and the things that we find help you stand out. Because again, the resume is something that is only looked at very briefly. The amount of time that the staff at the Career Center spends on resume is no near the same amount of time that employers look at individual resumes. So what that means is that they don't spend so much time on each individual resume the way we might spend hours working on it. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to spend that time, because that is even more reason to spend that time. Because if they're spending less time looking at it, you want to make sure that whatever they receive is the best possible version of you. So that takes time, right? Any document that you're working on, like as if you're handing in an assignment, you don't write it and just hand it in, right? You go through your drafts, your rough draft, your first draft, go through multiple drafts. So the resume is no different. And you want to make sure that whatever it is that if you have a chance to speak to to that dream employer, and whatever it is that you say to them, you want to make sure that it's saying something positive and that it represents you the best way, because you don't want to miss that opportunity, just by a small little thing that could have been fixed by taking the time to do so.
And let me just mention that, just so that most people know how much time hiring managers and recruiters take. First, your resume generally goes through something called an ATS system, an automated tracking system. It is scanned by a computer, that's the ATS system, which looks for keywords. For each job, keywords will be programmed into the computer, and the ones that have those keywords will be pulled out to go to the hiring manager or the recruiter. Fine, okay. So remember to put keywords in that they may have had on their job postings. Don't overdo it. You know, the ones you have, the ones you don't lard it up with stuff that, you know, you can't really say that you do or did regularly. The hiring manager or the recruiter may be seeing anywhere between 150 to 300 resumes a day, maybe more. They don't have a hell of a lot of time to go through these. The average resume gets an initial 5 to 9 second scan. That's it, guys. Okay? The reason that we suggest the format we do, and you'll see that format in the Magna Resume Guide that we send out. Not all of them are in that format, but some of them are. They are very neat. They are even on both sides. They are formatted horizontally. They don't have a margin on the left, and then they have a margin with other things on the right, so that there's not enough room on it. 5 to 9 seconds. The eye goes down the page. The person uses his or her peripheral vision to see the things on either end of the line, the beginning and the end of the line. That's it. They like it, it goes in the good pile. They don't like it, it goes in the circular file. Okay? You want it to be as perfect as possible. And it takes a little practice to make it perfect, but imagine how wonderful you'll feel when you send that resume away and you get a response when somebody says, "Oh, very impressed with your resume. We'd like to talk to you. Let's arrange for a Zoom meeting on such and such a date, and we're very eager to speak with you." That happens when they see the effort you put into it, really, okay? So we're not saying all this stuff to be mean. We're saying it because we love you all and we want you to find the very, very best jobs that you can get and the ones that you are really hoping for.
I just want to also just mention, we talked about, what to expect at the job fair. We talked about the elevator pitch. We talked about some resume tips. But this all is connected, right? Don't think that these are all independently standing on their own. Your elevator pitch, right? If you're not sure what to talk about, look at your resume, right? People put their resume together and then forget about it, right? You don't want to do that. You want to be familiar with what is on that resume, be able to talk about it fluently. And if you use your resume as a guide to your elevator pitch, you'll be able to, successfully come up with a strong elevator pitch. And don't forget, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's really about bringing forth your personality and making a connection with somebody, so that smiling and making eye contact, those are just as important. So please keep that in mind. We do have some additional preparation in addition to this evening. So don't forget, tomorrow Aon will be presenting how to make the best out of a virtual event. You want to have your resume saved and ready for when you are at the fair. If you haven't already done that, if you need some feedback on that resume, you're able to upload it to tinyurl.com/resume review for fair. We're working hard to get those resumes out. Once we leave here, we'll be checking in and looking at some of those resumes.
Tonight.
Right. Exactly, Paula and I both. So if you haven't already, please take down these dates where you'll have additional opportunities. And also Monday, if you have additional questions, we're going to have an IG Live on the Magna Career Center Instagram page. So for all of you Instagrammers, please tune in to our IG Live. Our team is working hard to be accessible and available for you guys. So please spread the word, even if you can't make it. It will be great for your colleagues to know about it. Also, we always appreciate seeing your beautiful faces. And if we don't get to see your face, just seeing your name, it really means a lot to us to know that you're there and that you appreciate our services and that you're taking advantage of it. Because as Paula said, we really do want to see you in your dream jobs, and we want you to be happy and know and have the confidence that you are coming from a renowned school that has quality students, that you guys are ready to take on these roles and make a huge impact. So please continue to take advantage of the resources and services that we have provided. So hopefully you've been able to take a photo of this page so that you could get to, get that resume feedback if you don't know how to do that already. And please, don't wait until Friday morning, right, to upload that resume. The sooner that you get it to us, the sooner we could get it back to you and you could get it ready for those recruiters.
Be yourself, guys. I don't know who else you'd want to be, but definitely be yourself. Congratulations to you for taking this step to advance your experience and your career. Please reach out to careernews@brooklyn.cuny.edu if you have any last-minute questions. They will be answered as quickly as possible. And check out our virtual fair and interview prep webpage, which is tinyurl.com/prep virtually. So again, take a screenshot of this.
You'll be able to find the slides for this presentation, as well as the employers that are planning to attend, so that you could do your research and get ready to be able to have those questions, have some talking points when you have either that one-on-one or that group setting with that employer. Of course, no problem, Crystal. Thank you so much, Vanessa. You've been amazing at sharing the resources and quickly answering questions in the chat. We really appreciate your help. Paula, of course, you're always amazing. It's always a pleasure working with you.
Are you?
Thank you so much. But we are pretty much wrapped up. We've gone through our slides. We've talked about what the fair will look like. Just to sum up, it's either going to be a one-on-one appointment or in a group setting. You're going to, go to Hire BC, make sure that you have your email up to date so that when that announcement is made, that you are able to receive it. It should be sent out Sunday or maybe Monday. And don't forget, you want to sign up as soon as possible so that you're able to get those slots. Your elevator pitch, get ready, right, to be speaking with employers. Use your resume to guide you. Submit your resume to have it reviewed if you haven't already done so, and put your best foot forward, right? Make that great first impression, dress professionally, come with a smile, right? And have a positive attitude, because that goes a long way.
And smiling, so few people see smiles nowadays because everybody's wearing masks.
Right.
So if you can show people your smile, they're going to be very happy. And that's why we suggest that you make sure that your camera is on when you're at the fair so that they can see you, they can see your smile. Okay? Good. Okay? Because we think that you'll all do very, very well.
Definitely. Thank you again, Cameron, for participating. We definitely appreciate, being all hands-on and taking that risk and not being, or maybe you were afraid, but still taking that risk and sharing with us. And hopefully it was a good experience for you as well.
I emailed Paula this morning. I'm not sure if she read it yet, but the job interview that I had on Thursday, I got the job on Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
I really wanted to tell you.
Congratulations.
I didn't want to cancel this because, it's always good to network. But I'm just so happy. I don't start yet until after I get my official offer letter because it's coming from overseas. But still,
It's amazing.
Very good.
Fantastic.
As Cameron noted, it's always great to network. You never know who you're going to meet or who, can give you an opportunity. So it's always best to put yourself out there, right? Can't go wrong.
Terrific.
All right, everyone. Have a good night. And thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
This wraps up the Job Fair Prep 2021 spring.
Make sure to check out the My Career tab on the BC Navigator app, where you can track your career progress based on the amount of credits you've earned, stay updated on upcoming events from the Magner Center, and watch our videos for insight and advice on your career field.